Good morning, everyone. I'm here, Lori Lamantia with Tricia Fiske.
Good morning.
And we're going to talk today about the power of language and the words that we use, especially around abundance. Because the language, language is, we're saying things all the time, and it's impacting the energy around us. And not only are the words we use so powerful to other people, but we're listening to those words also. And so the language and the words that you use really matter. And one of the things that we're going to do today is we're going to use the sutras, because yoga has a lot of messages that we get through during our practices, and it really is seeping into us when we're in a very open and vulnerable state. And so why not use language and look at the sutras and how though that language might be impacting how you feel and what you're experiencing? Just to give an example. So Tricia, why don't you take the next part of this and use the sutras that you found to show how different sutras use language?
Absolutely. And the sutra that I want to start with is Sutra 1.30. So it's in the first book. And it speaks to how the obstacles to finding peace, to reaching this state of peace. So, and I'm gonna look at 4 different books and just share what they say about the same thing so that we can
So
look at
here, look at the word
the
obstacle. Just that
right.
word, bing, feel that word, obstacle. So
Right.
already our energy is set up to, we're already in a zone, right? Even just with that word, obstacle. So awareness around that. Please continue.
All right. Yes. So Sutra 1.30, and the first one is from The Secret of the Yoga Sutra by Pandit Rajmani Tiganaya.
Love that
And
word,
it is,
secret.
yes, life is a long chain of pleasure and pain, success and failure, gain and loss. Transcending these pairs of opposites and reaching a state of inner equanimity is the essence of the spiritual quest. Along the way, a variety of obstacles emerge, and they are disease, mental inertia, doubt, carelessness, sloth, inability to withdraw from sense cravings, clinging to misunderstanding, inability to reach the goal, which is samadhi, this spiritual quest, and the inability to retain samadhi, all are obstacles.
Ugh.
Okay.
So I
Yeah.
listen to that list and I'm like, I feel like crap and I feel bad. This is why we started talking about this, because last week there was a certain language that came up and I was like, wow, that really impacts our energy system. And as yogis, we want to be good. We want to be good. We don't want to make mistakes. We want to, so we're extra diligent around those energy systems, and we don't, we want to be in samadhi. So that was perfect. I hope everybody felt how crappy those words felt.
All right. So, and here's an interesting variation of that. This is from the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali translated by Edwin F. Bryant. And he says to substitute the word obstacles for disturbances,
Mm.
because obstacles are permanent and disturbances are changing states of mind.
Mm.
And if these disturbances are removed, there's no vrittis, or just the mind fluctuating all the time. And then, thus, the goal of yoga would be accomplished.
Ah,
So,
beautiful. Very
yeah,
powerful.
so obstacles or disturbances or interruptions instead of obstacles. So
And they
that's
do
a
feels flowy. It feels like that can move. That I felt flow in that. That moves from stuck to it's just part of the in and out breath almost. It's a
ex-
disturbance. Love that.
right. Something that right, that it's movable.
Right. And
It's not
moving.
stuck there.
Right.
Right. Okay, so let's see. Distractions, disruptions. Now I'm looking at a book. This is by Salvatore Zambito, and it's called The Unadorned Thread of Yoga. And
Mm.
it's a compilation of translations. It's 12 different translations, but I'm just looking for the how this same word is used. Disturbances, obstacles, distractions. I like that too.
Mhm.
Instability,
Mm.
instability, distractions, obstacles. Yeah.
Give us that last one, the last book.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Sorry, I was getting caught up in reading
Come on, girl.
it. All right. And then the fourth book is The Path of the Yoga Sutras by Nikolai Bachman. And he calls them distractions.
Mm.
When we take the time to sit quietly and turn our attention inward, it's important that our body's comfortable, our breath flows freely, and our heart mind is alert. Obstacles divert our attention from the point of focus. All obstacles are disruptions to the heart mind field of consciousness and can be debilitating to a practice because these distracting thoughts and emotions are present. And again, the 9 obstacles are disease, apathy, self doubt, carelessness, fatigue, sexual preoccupation, erroneous views, ungroundedness, and regression. So his words for the obstacles are even a little different.
Right. And and the reason why we wanted to talk about this, and I think it's so powerful, is depending on who your teacher was or what you heard when you were younger, those words can stick with you. They're sticky, and this is a perfect example. If you our job is to overcome obstacles, right? We could get stuck in the I'm broken and I have to be fixed. I've got to overcome these obstacles in order to get to samadhi. And somehow, and I'll just speak for myself, we get stuck in that groove, that rut, that mode, instead of the mode of, you know, yeah, things come up, there's a disturbance, but the mode I'm mostly in is a grace mode, a perfection mode, a divinity mode. And every once in a while, I have an obstacle experience. That's way different than energetically, that's to me, that's like night and day difference. And somehow, because I was raised Catholic, I hate to say it, I give into that. That's almost just my mode, it's an unquestioned, unconscious mode. And that's why we're having this conversation is really wake up and see how we can be in these unconscious modes and because of the language or the energies that we were taught when we weren't really conscious of what we were just taking it in, let's say.
Right. We are attracted to the obstacles. They become we well, and I'll speak for myself here too. It's There are times when it's easier for me to attach to the obstacle than to
Mm.
just thinking of it as a distraction. It's just a
Oh,
distraction. But
right.
right, the grace that comes and happens more and more is the realization that it's a distraction and not an obstacle. I don't have to attach to what I feel is blocking me.
Right.
I
Attachment, right.
right. I can attach to the freedom of, again, choices. I'm making a choice. Do I want to attach to the distraction, or that it's just a distraction?
Or it's an obstacle and I'm broken and I need to be fixed. Yeah.
Right, right. I know
And,
that one well too.
yeah. And I think especially for the purposes of this, that awareness and starting to learn how to speak more kindly to ourselves and more generously to ourselves so that we are using language that is more um, respectful. And I'm using the word more that, if you're already talking beautifully to yourself, oh, I so honor you. And, but a lot of times our self-talk is really harsh. Why did
Mm.
you do that? Why were you so mean? There's that whole, we're really great at using really harsh language in our minds at ourselves. And that language, again, is really important because we're listening to ourselves and we're reinforcing a belief and an experience that I don't think our souls ever intended for. At least, well, no, Claire cancel delete. I think our souls thought it would be, we could overcome it a little easier. The world is out there, it's doing its thing. We're gonna clear it out and move into that place of heaven on earth, which I do believe is what we've all been moving towards, let's say. Isn't it funny? All the language we're having to use right now. Blah.
Right. Just to get around our language.
Right,
Yes.
the language to get around our language, right? And so I was like, what are some language, what are some abundance words? And I was going back through the book I wrote, Effortless Wealth, and the whole thing is filled with abundance words. Like, but some of my favorites are and instead of or. And why not and give ourselves the grace of and? I can have this and that. I can have this and I can have wealth and relationships. I can have money and freedom. It's really interesting how we or ourselves. And one of
I
my
have,
go ahead.
no, go ahead. Sorry.
No, and I was gonna say yes. Richness, enriched, one of my favorite ones. I love the word plenty. I was gonna do a blog post about good and plenty. There's so much good and plenty out there. It's just this beautiful world of plenty. So as you start deciding to choose different abundance words, you start to, be in an abundance energy zone. You could feel the difference of the word plenty versus uh doubt, sloth, that.
Right. Right. Well, as you're talking, that reminded me of this quote that I'm sure so many people are familiar with, but I have to read this because it just relates to this. So I recently ran across a story about a Native American tribal leader describing his own inner struggles. And he said, "There's two dogs inside of me. One of the dogs is mean and evil, and the other dog is good. And the mean dog fights the good dog all the time." And someone asked him which dog usually wins. And after a moment's reflection, he answered, "The one I feed the most."
Mhm, mhm.
So, and
Yeah.
that this, right, this quote is from Rabbi Harold Kushner. So, right, again, it goes back to what language are you using? And is it the language of obstacles, or is it the language of present moment and uh, being surprised and delighted by what's in the present moment?
And I almost feel like the present moment language is non-dualistic in that we're not into a judgment about good and bad, like that. It feels like language that is elevating takes us out of the dualism, the mental dualism, and it puts us in a grace place that where we don't have to have that internal, you know, like you said, fight.
Right,
It,
right.
we move into a place where we are harmonious and joyous and graced and sourced, and in those places, you're not playing the mental games, it feels like. Um, and I think that's again one of the powers of language and choosing our words and choosing our self-talk. Why it's so important. And when we and I think, when we were doing those readings, you can feel words that ping you, right? Certain words ping
Mhm.
us. And and it's really good to just notice what word pinged me, and can I release it or elevate it or say, is there any healing here that for me, I know that like when I was writing Effortless Wealth, the word rich, how many people can go, I am rich, you know I and you just, wow, what words really are. And I know the word trigger is a big word, but lately, and it's for a reason, and it's not that you got to fix somebody else, it's that that word wants to release something inside of us. The energy difference between a high vibrating word and us saying that is something that we can look at and go, hey, if I don't want to allow, if I don't feel comfortable with saying that, not so much why not, but let me release any things that are in the way of me allowing myself the richness and the graces and the beauty of life. Does that make sense what I just said? Can you say that better?
No, it makes sense what you just said. It doesn't need to be said better. It is right. If you're using that language that is rich and full and sweet,
Mm,
and there's any kind of a block or resistance to it,
mhm.
jump into that resistance. Be don't push it out. Don't ignore it. Don't ignore it. um, to be willing to jump in and look at it. That's where you get clarity. That's where it clears up.
Mhm.
That's where it stops being a trigger.
Yes, right. It
Yeah,
we can clear those things out just with wow, I'm willing to let whatever energies are around that go. I'm willing to see it in a new light. All these words, they have some energy because of something that's been there that doesn't have to be there going forward.
right. Yes, that energy around the word is the thing you want to look at. What kind of energy does it present to you? Is it resistance or triggering of any kind, like a yuck kind of a thing? Or right. And again, I if if words are energy, then we don't have to do this whole mental processing thing about the why and where it came from. But that shift is just, what's joy? What does joy feel like? How to, instead of sloth, I don't know, that one's really pushing my buttons. Like, what the hell is sloth?
And it's such a cute animal, such a shame it got
Right,
whacked with
right. It has a negative connotation,
because a
right?
sloth is just this beautiful, gentle, lovely,
Slow
slow
move.
moving. It's got a little smile. It's just an adorable little guy. It's like, hey.
Right, right. Oh, yeah. My granddaughter loves Baby Shark, and there's a cartoon, and like there's Grandma Shark, Grandpa Shark, Daddy Shark, Mama Shark, but there's Sloth Shark too. I remember
Oh.
seeing that
Aw.
because they're so sweet. But anyway, it's again, if a word's triggering you, try another word. Don't feel like I mean, pay attention to how that feels, but you don't have to go into therapy to move
Right.
past it is what I'm making a long-winded way of saying short. Try a different word. What word allows you to experience lightness
Mhm.
and energy movement and not stagnant?
I love, and we did that, and that's what you did with those two sutras. Obstacle felt heavy. So what the other author did was pick the word disturbance. As we pick different words, we give ourselves the grace and the
Right,
kindness to unstick ourselves and move us up and through and forward, just with our
and
language and the energy behind it.
right, and distraction is even lighter than disturbance. It's
Yes,
just a distraction.
yes. And that's how we walk ourselves up the energy cycle. So, what would be the next word from disturbance? Maybe an opportunity for choice,
Mm-hmm.
and I think you used the word transcendence too, transformation. So now we can go from distraction to transformation, or whatever energy words and this is where you got to do your own internal check-in. What
Yeah.
word walks me up from heavy, depressed, sad, poverty, scarcity, all those words, walking are finding ways to gently and kindly walk ourselves into words that feel better, in language that feel higher, lighter, graceful,
And
effort,
authentic. And
authentic.
authentic. Yes.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
got
Don't
to
fake
really,
it. You can't fake yourself.
yeah. No. And that's why it's got to be your words. You have to look at it yourself, because even between the two of us, there are some words that trigger you that I don't
Yeah.
even think twice
Right.
about, and vice versa. Right.
Yeah. Totally. But I think that's brilliant and absolutely true. And that's why, no one can do your journey for you. Uh,
Right.
but I do think from the language of abundance, almost so many words can be triggering for, especially money, or God, like some people you can't even, God is, wow, and that's okay. But that means that it's worth a look at, in my opinion. And let's say the word money. For some people, they can't even say the word money without being triggered in some way. And that's a huge journey. And I honor it, but it is worth taking, because you don't want to be, well, I'll speak for myself. I didn't want to be triggered by the word money. And I certainly didn't want to push it away, like you were saying. I just won't deal with it. Well, yeah,
Yeah, we know how that works, right?
exactly. Stuffing your bills under the bed. Yeah, it's just in the long term, it just doesn't do us any good. And so the courageous thing, in my opinion, because we are unlimited, courageous, powerful souls, is, I love looking at certain things and going, putting it in your palm and looking at it and going, you're adorable. Turn it from something big and snarly into something adorable. And then you can address it or you can work with it. And I think language, the words help us see where we have energy that we could play with and work with and transform and use to empower ourselves. you know, but finding those, I don't know, do you have a word that, around in abundance world? I know. We were gonna, I bought this book, remember the word poverty?
Oh, right.
Yeah. I don't know what I was thinking, but when I was at the airport, I bought this book. It's called Poverty by America. And I was like, do I want for some reason I bought it. I spent money on it. And then I couldn't even open it. I'm like, do well, I did. I read the foreword and I'm like, I don't want to be in this energy of it. And so Tricia and I were hanging out yesterday and I'm like, let's burn it. I'm like, so we said a prayer over it. And I'm like, maybe the best thing we could do is just say, I know this exists. And my intention is for us to elevate, transform it, use it as a disturbance and a disruption and move it into a state where we aren't all, well, whoever wrote this book, and I know what they were trying to say, America, it can engender poverty. And I say America and the whole world can engender beauty and abundance and prosperity. That's, if I were to write a book, it would be, prosperity by the the global community. One that where we are choosing energetically to invest our energy into what we would much prefer. That's that's a really, and I think that's what the intent of this was, and that's why I bought it, but I couldn't get through it because I'm like, I don't know that I want to even invest that much energy into understanding it, which I know sounds kind of immature maybe, or well, Claire Kinsley, why would I be so hard on myself and say that? I want to say that by us burning it, or by me, I'll speak for myself. Me burning it, I'm investing in a new way. I'm supporting
Transformation.
transformation,
Yeah. I mean,
not
because
the
that's what fire is too. It's
right,
transformative, right?
right. And so I'm going to say too, I would watch how people speak as to us, and how we speak about other people. Our words are very powerful. And being clear and trying to pick language that is abundancing or gracing or high vibrating. I think that's why they say if you can't say something nice, don't say something at all, right?
Right, right.
Because it's putting that language into the ecosystem.
Well, it's putting the energy of that language into the
Yes,
ecosystem, right? And that's
absolutely.
what, right? And that's what we want to measure, the energy that's around us that we're putting out, as well as what we're feeling. What are we putting out into the universe? Are we putting out grace and acceptance, and um, or are we putting poverty out
Right.
into the ecosystem? Right. Our our energy, what we focus on, how we speak, these things, our interactions with other people, this is what we're putting out into the universe. So we want to be paying attention to that. Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I took this class over the weekend, and with Dr. Carey, and she was talking about the Power versus Force book, which of course I can't remember the author, but it's a really brilliant book. And it's been around since the 70s. And they took words and they and they measured the energy. They gave it measurements. It was almost like a frequency measurement, but it wasn't officially a frequency. And the words poverty, scarcity, loneliness, depression, they all vibrated at like 25, super low vibration, dense. And then as you walk yourself up the energy scale, and so in order to change those energies, people use force. They use force because they force the change. And then as you walk up the energy scale to um even like anger is better than loneliness. And that vibrates a little higher because you've got more energy moving. And then
Mm,
you move to neutrality, which is around, contentment and neutrality is around 200. And that's when you start to switch over from that energy where you're in the lower vibration, where you have to use force, where you're in your empowerment, where you're in the higher, you're moving into the higher graces, the higher heart, and love, joy. Those are vibrating in the 400 and 500 range, and then they were saying, where Jesus and Buddha would vibrate was in that enlightenment and um enjoyment kind of high vibration. and energy words. So the words even are, like you said, symbolic of the energy that's behind them. And so
Mm.
becoming really more conscious of the language that we're using really matters. In the language of abundance, wealth. And even the word wealth, people might have a little trigger around. It's just worth noticing how we talk about money and expenses and bills and taxes. I have a friend who's like, oh, every time you use the word tax, he just has a meltdown. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I get it. Taxes are a pain in the ass, but you put way too much energy into being pissed about them. I'm like, okay. And from my perspective, I don't mind paying taxes if it goes to supporting a global community where we can, my intent is my taxes go towards harmony and grace and peace. That's my intent. So I'm happy to pay taxes. I'd like them a little less, but I see what the intent was is to help everybody out. Okay. That's how I justify it in my mind. But yeah, noticing where your energy is just being flushed down the toilet around certain things is totally worth it.
Absolutely.
So how would you wrap this up?
I'm going to wrap this up by saying in the Yoga Sutras, the answer to all of these obstacles, disturbances is meditation. And I would say, in this case, meditation is you being observant and noticing your energy around the language you're using. That's your meditation.
Mm. Yeah, you did say that when we started, before we started, you said the antidote to those disturbances is
To all of them.
meditation. Yeah, to
Yep.
all of them.
Right.
All the seven that articulate with sloth and doubt. And I guess I would say I would for me, and this is, as I've gone on my journey, my meditation would be to meditate on the word grace or on, I would be
But
doing it.
again, they've got to pick their own word. You
Yes,
can't tell them
yes,
what
thank
word
you.
to
I
use.
would pick an antidote word. I thank you for
Yeah.
that. Absolutely. I
Yeah.
would pick an antidote word and be in the energy of whatever that word is that sets you into that zone of alignment of with the, the your gracing self. I don't want to even say highest self right now because I realized some people use higher self, and some use the word inner being, and some use God. And so I don't know. Yeah, like you said, you got to pick the energy thing that puts you in that place,
Right. Go with the feeling.
the feeling,
Go
the
with the
felt
feeling
sense
and the
feeling.
sensate. Yeah, the felt sense feeling that comes up from the use of the word. That's your word. That's why we all have special prayers, special words, different mantras.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Yes. Excellent. So that's the opportunity for this week is to find your abundance language. How about that?
Awesome.
Awesome. Yes. Thanks everyone for being here. Have a wonderful, abundant, amazing, glorious, fun, joyful, playful, and all those fun words week.
Bye,
Bye,
everybody.
everyone. I love those words. Words are so fun when you get the good ones. Clear, cancel, delete.
Right.